One more. Tatum. Oh, he got one. Drives down. That's throws.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another Celtics Central video. So the Celtics just finished Game 3. They won 106 to 99 against the Dallas Mavericks in an absolute hectic game. Boston Celtics were up 21 points in the third quarter, and the Dallas Mavericks came storming back in the fourth quarter, led by Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. PJ Washington hitting some big buckets, and even Josh Green getting involved, and cut the Boston lead down to 1 point with about 5 minutes left. But ultimately, the Boston Celtics pulled away. Some clutch buckets by Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum with a nice putback dunk, and Derek White making a clutch three from an amazing pass, to be honest, from Jrue Holiday. So let's start with the big news of the game. So we know Kristaps Porzingis did not play today. He had his foot injury, and it's kind of up in the air if he's going to even play in the rest of the series. But Joe Mazzulla, kind of to a lot of people's surprise, went with Xavier Tillman over Luke Kornet. Luke Kornet is someone that Joe Mazzulla has shown a lot of trust in throughout the season. And even when it's been criticized by the media, he still is the first guy off the bench if Kristaps Porzingis or Al Horford has been out for any time throughout the year. But I think Joe Mazzulla really made the right decision by playing Xavier Tillman. Tillman is able to guard Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving a lot more efficiently on the perimeter. And even on offense, he was able to give the Celtics a corner three, which is absolutely huge in the third quarter. It completely changed the momentum, and it just built on that Celtics lead. And just a crucial three at that given time, allowing Al Horford to get some rest. And Al Horford boosted tremendously from that rest. We could tell in that fourth quarter he wasn't exhausted, and he looked like he still had some juice left in his legs. So in the first quarter, the Boston Celtics were able to put an end to the Dallas Mavericks run. The Dallas Mavericks were up by 13 points at one point in the first quarter, and the Boston Celtics were able to cut that lead to 1 point by the end of the quarter. It was all thanks to Sam Hauser, to be honest. Sam Hauser came in the game, played phenomenal defense on two individual possessions on defense. He had a stop on Kyrie Irving, and then also amazing stop on PJ Washington. They were constantly attacking him. I mean, the pick and roll, Luka Doncic won at Sam Hauser on him every single time. And sometimes he did score, and the same with Kyrie Irving. But Sam Hauser, more often than not, was able to get stops and just kind of stop whatever the Dallas Mavericks were trying to get involved in. But on offense, he had 3 threes. He shot 3 of 4 from the three-point line and was a plus 16 in the game, and he only played 14 minutes. He was just amazing out there, and no matter if he was being picked on defense, he held his own. Same with Payne Pritchard, and Jrue Holiday talked about this a few games ago, where even the white guys play defense. Sam Hauser, Payne Pritchard made key offensive rebounds today in the game and played phenomenal defense, even while they're getting picked on throughout the game. So with no Kristaps Porzingis today, Jason Tatum knew he had to step up, and he did just that. He scored 31 points today, shot 11 of 26 from the field, and 4 of 13 from 3. That's all right, 25%. Could have been better. He only had 6 rebounds today, but he was phenomenal. He stepped up when they needed him most, and then he made timely three-point shots. Down the stretch, he could have been a little bit better, 4 of 13, but throughout the game, he made clutch three-pointers to help the Celtics advance their lead. Jaylen Brown was phenomenal today. Him and Jason Tatum both played phenomenal. Without Kristaps Porzingis, they knew they needed to step up, and they both put up 30 points today. The Celtics knew coming into it that someone else was going to have to take up for Kristaps Porzingis' shots. Kristaps was taking anywhere from 5 to maybe 15 shots a game. So someone else had to take those shots, and it was Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, who really stepped up when they needed him most. The Dallas Mavericks were coming out hungry today. Everyone knew they would. They're down 2-0. Going down 3-0 is basically a death sentence. No one's ever came back in a 7-game series down 3-0, and Dallas Mavericks did just that. But Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown continuously, as Dallas went on runs in the first, even the third, and in the fourth quarter, they were able to calm the storm and ultimately get the offense that they wanted to get down the stretch. So in the second quarter, it was a lot of the same thing. It was a lot of back and forth. And then that first half, the biggest thing overall was just the defense by both teams. Both teams were playing very physical, and the refs were letting them play a lot of the game. Jrue Holiday had a couple of fouls in that quarter, so did Luka Doncic. And the defense was really on another level by both teams. Going into that third quarter, though, is where the Boston Celtics really pulled away, and they went on a nice run. Xavier Tillman had a 3. Jason Tatum had a couple of 3s. Derek White, Al Horford, they were all getting it going, and what was most impressive was the defensive end. Again, Sam Hauser had a couple of stops, same with Payne Pritchard, and Xavier Tillman even had a block on Luka Doncic, helped the Celtics get out in transition. That 3 by Xavier Tillman really ballooned the lead. I think it was up to 21 at one point in the third quarter. and helped the Celtics really hold strong up until that fourth quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, that's when things started to get a little dicey for the Boston Celtics. The Dallas Mavericks were very, very desperate. Jason Kidd had been getting onto them, telling that their season is basically over if they lose this game, and they played just like that. Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, everyone stepped up on defense, and the Celtics had 5 or 6 possessions in a row. They went at least 3 minutes and 20 seconds without scoring, and they basically were just shooting step back threes, contested mid ranges, and there was nothing easier for them shooting wise. On the defensive end, the Boston Celtics were playing a lot, very lackadaisical. There was a couple moments in the game where Jaylen Brown and whoever was the other defender kind of had a miscommunication. I don't know if they were trying to do something different today that Joe Mazzulla wanted them to do, but there was at least 3 to 4, maybe 5 possessions that Jaylen Brown was really confused with the other defender and let easy drives to the lane to either score a layup or get a kick out, which I think is something that Celtics will really look into for Game 4 because they can't just let that happen. It's just way too easy for Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving to get going. And once they get an easy basket, it's just they get hot from there, and anything is possible with them once they get hot. So in that fourth quarter, Luka Doncic was starting to take over. Kyrie Irving had a phenomenal game today. Let me see how much Kyrie had today. Kyrie shot 13 to 28 from the field, 4 or 6 from 3. That's phenomenal. And he had 35 points. He outscored Luka Doncic by 8 points today. He flat out was balling today. He looked like vintage Kyrie Irving today, right from the get-go. From the start to the end, he was in full control, getting wherever he wanted. Celtics made it as tough as they could. Sam Hauser, Drew, Derek, they played phenomenal defense on him, even Al Horford on some possessions. But better offenses beats better defense, and Kyrie Irving is one of the best, if not the best, one-on-one scorer in the league, and he showed that again today. Luka Doncic shot 11 of 27 for 27 points, 1 of 7 from 3, which is phenomenal for the Boston Celtics. But he did foul out of the game. He fouled out with about 4.5 minutes left on a really non-controversial call. He was a blocking foul. It looked like it was a good call by the refs, especially to try to overturn it. It just didn't look like anything there to overturn it. Luka Doncic was complaining the entire game. As someone who's a Boston Celtics fan, but even seeing like neutral fans on social media, they were saying Luka was crying to the rest of the entire game, and I couldn't agree more. There are certain possessions where he did have an argument, but a lot of them it's playoff basketball. On the other end, Jason Tatum is not getting these same calls. Jason Tatum would complain, but not to this near extent. And I think you just have to get back on defense because there was times, especially late in the game, Al Horford ended up turning it over, but Luka Doncic looked like he potentially got fouled. It was close. But again, it was 4-on-5 for the Mavericks, and the Celtics ended up turning over. But that's just plays you can't have, especially if it was a 1 or 2 point game. You just can't let the Boston Celtics have a 5-on-4 and easy transition layup on the other end. So I think that was really the turning point for the Dallas Mavericks. Once Luka fouled out, I think the Boston Celtics really honed in on their defense. The Mavericks ended up cutting it to a 2-point lead, but I don't feel like the Celtics were ever in as desperate of a need as when Luka Doncic was in there. That threat of Luka Doncic having those clutch buckets, having Kyrie Irving basically allowing to go one-on-one because you can't double him if you have Luka on the other side, really changed the momentum, really helped the Boston Celtics pull away in this one. My MVP for the game goes to 2 people. Jaylen Brown, Sam Hauser. Jason Tatum played amazing, but that's kind of the expectation with Jason Tatum, especially with Kristaps out. He really stepped up his scoring today. He didn't need to be as much a facilitator today because Kristaps Porzingis was out, so you had to fill in those gaps with the shots, and Jason Tatum did just that. But Jaylen Brown's 2-point mid-range shot in the fourth quarter when the Celtics were only up 2 points to bring the lead back up to 4, when the Celtics feel like they had no momentum and they were basically rallying just to try to keep the lead. Looks like they were just holding on for dear life at that point. Jaylen Brown hit a tough mid-range shot over Tim Hardaway Jr. At the time, I was like, I don't know if that's a good shot or not, but he made it, so I was very happy for him. That's something where last year and even years prior, you just don't see Jaylen Brown hitting it. Even at some points in this year, I was like, okay, that's probably a bad shot. But in this game, especially with how he was shooting it so efficiently, being 12 for 22 for the game already, above 50% from the field with the type of shots he was taking, and struggling from 3 for most of the game, that was a big bucket by Jaylen Brown. And I also give it to Sam Hauser because he shot 3 or 4 today. But those 3 threes that he made and the defense that he was able to play while he was being basically forced to be switched on to Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, he held his own, and those 3 threes were so tremendous for the Boston Celtics in those minutes where you allowed Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown or some of the other guards to get some rest. He came out and flat out balled, and I saw a thing on social media. People forget that Sam Hauser is on a 3-year, $6 million contract, $2 million per year. He's on that second year of that, so he still has 1 more year. It's a team option for next year. Obviously, the Boston Celtics are going to keep it. But this is a guy who a couple years ago, the Boston Celtics were wondering if they even want to keep on the roster, especially after last year getting no minutes in an entire playoff series. He was able to come out conference finals. He struggled, started in the first 2 rounds, but the Boston Celtics and Joe Mazzulla really held pat and trusted in Sam Hauser, and Sam Hauser did it himself. He says he goes back and watches those old highlights of himself and just try to mentally focus and know that he's not the player that he was in those first few rounds, and that he knows that his jump shot will come around. And he was right. For Game 1 and Game 3, he's absolutely balled in that series. And in Game 3, I think he was the reason why the Boston Celtics were able to get out in such a big lead and cut Dallas Mavericks' 30-point lead in the first quarter down to only 1 and help pull away in the third quarter. He was phenomenal tonight, and that's why I give those my MVPs to those two people. Overall for the series, though, I'm definitely giving the MVP so far to Jaylen Brown, and it would take a masterful Jason Tatum game in Game 4, probably a 35, maybe a 40-point game, 6, 7, 8 assists, and a 10 rebound type game for him to have a chance at getting it, because Jaylen Brown's just been phenomenal. Just phenomenal throughout the series, doing whatever he needed. Today he had 8 assists, 7 in the first half, being a facilitator when he knew Jason Tatum had it going in that first half. Jason Tatum, I believe, had 20 in that first half. Jason Tatum was phenomenal in that first half, but Jaylen Brown was still able to get involved and not just be isolated to just being a scorer. He's doing everything the Celtics need, and so is Jason Tatum. And I'm really glad to see those two people being able to mesh together on the biggest stage after what happened in 2022. Everyone knows how much they struggled in the finals, but they were able to come together in this series and really show why they're worth the money they are, and why Brad Stevens and ownership has continued to trust in them when the media has tried to break them apart for so many years. So with this one, the Boston Celtics are now at 3-0. But even with that, no teams ever came back down 3-0. But I wouldn't put it past the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks can get hot, and the Celtics can come out lackadaisical. But this Boston Celtics team seems completely different than any point given the season. Jaylen Brown seems completely focused, and so is Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have taken such a big leap in their leadership, and so has Al Horford. Al Horford is that vet, but he is able to contribute so much. He's not like someone like Udonis Haslem at the end of his career where he's not able to perform at the highest level. Al Horford can hang with anybody in this league. He's shown that countless times through the NBA Finals so far, and I really feel like the Boston Celtics will close it out in Game 4. I think this is the Mavericks really their last punch to try to make this this series competitive. But I think the Boston Celtics really rallied in this game. I think they really stole their heart, frankly. And I expect the Boston Celtics to come out in Game 4 and really put an end to this series, not allow the Dallas Mavericks to have any hope going back into Boston. But if it did go to Game 5, I wouldn't be mad seeing Boston win in their hometown. The city deserves it. The city has been eager to win a championships, and they haven't won one since 2008. And the city is just all about sports, and Boston deserves it so much. So whatever happens, Game 4 or 5, I'll make a video after Game 4 previewing, kind of recapping what happens. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. Peace.